Welcome to Anywhere the Needle Drops. Hey world, it's Justin. I am your host, and we have another off-week special episode for you here. In fact, we've got two of them, yes. We'll get to that in just a moment. So let's see, it was a month or so back we had Justin Wells return to the show. Justin is out there plugging and touring on his latest album, Cynthiana. And Justin's been a longtime friend of Red Chuck, goes back to the early days of the show, oh so long ago, over a decade ago, which is just crazy. So, as we've been doing in the last year or so, when we've had some of our guests return, we've been digging into the archives of the old days, cleaning them up a little bit, and putting them back out to you for you to listen to. As you know, we have our wonderful sound engineer, Paul Clemson of Theory One Productions, and Paul is so much better at this magical sound thing than I ever was back in those days. So it's been pretty cool to dig into these old episodes and let him clean them up a little bit and then put them back out there for you, especially as the show has grown and we've gotten some new listeners. You can kind of get a little taste of the old days. So Justin here. Justin actually has been on the show twice before this year, and so that's why you're getting two bonus episodes. The first one goes all the way back to 2014. Justin was in a band called Fifth on the Floor, and I had seen him with that band opening up for Roger Clyne and the Peacemakers, my favorite band of all time. And then they happened to come through town in Mishawaka, Indiana, sometime after that, and so we had him on the show. That was kind of a fun story because we were supposed to do the interview in the green room prior to the show as they were setting up, and there was a little bit of a misunderstanding there with the other act and in the venue, and we ended up without a place to hang out to chat. And after wandering looking for a place, we ended up in the tour van, the two Justins, me and Justin Wells, sitting side by side in his tour van. Talking about what they're doing on that tour. So that's what you're going to get here. And then keep an eye on your feed because right after this, you should be getting the second remaster from the history of Justin Wells on Anywhere the Needle Drops. Take care, folks. Here's to life. So, all right.
Yeah, Anywhere the Needle Drops.
Anywhere the Needle Drops, yeah.
So that's the site.
Yeah, there's two. So I got two things. There's the website, Anywhere the Needle Drops, which is basically a blog, mostly about music, but there's other stuff I do there too. And then Red Chuck Productions, which is sort of the umbrella for all that, and then some other stuff, which is the podcast. We make movies. We do some other projects. We've got a whole lot of things going on.
Did you review our record or something?
Yes.
I've seen this recently. That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yep, that was us. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, because we saw you. We saw you when you played with Roger up in Ferndale. Mm-hmm. So we went up there. My girlfriend and I drove up there to check out the show, and I remember, and she pointed this out today when I was coming out to talk to you. I remember we got there. And we saw you guys setting up, or we saw you guys coming out on stage or something like that. And
that was you, and you said like something like, "These motherfuckers look like a gang of or something." I remember that.
Like some, you remember
we
that? Okay,
loved that.
To,
that was awesome.
Yep, yeah. And then man, you guys came out and rocked it though.
Well, man, it was like when we met Roger. We all got out of the van, and this was in wherever, but the same thing. I think PH said, "Man, these guys are gonna kick our ass."
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That was
looked like a bunch of fucking Vikings.
That was the idea. Yeah. We thought. I think heavy metal or some kind of metal. Like we
get that all the time, or I get people always think that I'm the drummer, or the bass player, because I'm huge, or often the tech or the fucking roadie or something.
Yep. Well, I definitely know where they're coming from on that. Yeah, because I had that same misconception, and that's what you get for judging before you know, because you guys came out there and it was a fantastic show. You guys can really do it. I mean, on the album it's great, but when you do it live, it's awesome.
Are you on right now?
Yeah, we're on.
Cool.
We're going.
Good.
Yeah, it's pretty loose. I mean,
no, that's
I don't know
fine. I don't want to waste any stories when you're not on.
No, man. No, bring them on. What kind of stories you got for me?
Oh gosh. No. Okay. Well, first of all, I hope you're sticking around for the show tonight, because that show, the show you saw with Roger in Ferndale, we just hired Ryan on guitar, so that was all of his like fourth or fifth show with us. So
okay.
we've done some extensive touring since then, including that tour. And if you're able to stay tonight, you're gonna enjoy it much more than Ferndale.
That is the plan.
That Ferndale show was cool, man.
That was a good show.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
I partied a lot that night, and we had to drive through the night to wherever the hell we were going next, and so we just turned up Appetite for Destruction really loud, and we drank a lot of coffee.
Yeah, that town was a little interesting. I hadn't been up there before, but a little art district going on there.
Yeah.
You got the bars and the wine and beer shops and whatnot. We had a fun time up there too. So
We were just laid up there about 3 days ago. We had a couple off days, and we crossed back over from Canada on this tour, and I got a buddy that lives in Ferndale, so we just stayed over there and watched it flood, which it was doing.
I saw that on your Twitter feed. That's up in Detroit.
Detroit got beat up.
Yeah.
Ferndale's just right outside of Detroit, and Detroit got its ass kicked, man. And in fact, the band. So we were playing in Grand Rapids last night. There's a band called I don't remember. They were going to be like the local support, but they're a Detroit band. We played in Grand Rapids anyway. They were unable to make the show because their space flooded.
Oh man!
And they lost like half their gear, man. So they're doing. I want to say it's like Against the Grain is the name of the band anyway. Go look up. They got a GoFundMe or something. They're trying to raise money. So go help those dudes.
Take care of their
Get
gear.
their gear back.
Yeah, definitely.
Get some new gear.
Yeah, it's definitely a mess over there, and they don't have the resources to deal with it either. So it's
Nobody
even worse,
does, man.
know?
Nobody touring like at this level does. You know? It would kill us.
So what's that like for you? I mean, obviously you're at the point where you're focused on music as a career. So when did you make that leap in your life?
Well, this is going to sound like kind of like a bullshit story, but I moved to Lexington from a very small town in Kentucky that I was living at the time because I was trying to start a band, and Fifth on the Floor is only the second band I've ever been in, and I moved to Lexington in 2005, and I started Fifth on the Floor a year later. I think that a whole lot of knuckleheaded ignorance and a little bit of dedication have gotten me things, but I was real serious about it from the start, but I didn't like put everything else down and just focus only on making money off of music till about 2007 or so.
Oh, really?
We started touring in 2008, but so I got a lot of supplemental income from just little shithead acoustic gigs for dipshits asking for Kid Rock picture and Sweet Home Alabama or something.
Sure, yeah.
No offense to Kid Rock or Leonard Skinner and
yeah.
those beautiful people. But.
So like it was all music based though. I mean, so you were still working,
Yeah.
but you weren't working strictly in the band.
Right. So yeah, Fifth on the Floor wasn't making livable income. I mean, we are now, barely. It's none of us are rich, and we're all struggling, and bills suck. But the upward momentum of the band in the last year is. I mean, if we're whatever level we're at now, we got 80% of that in the last year.
Nice.
So it's like it was this. Here's the damn chart, and then it went up there. So the goal is to keep going.
Sure.
Stay that way for a few years.
Yeah.
We've been a band for 8 years, man. And the last year is the only thing that made any damn sense.
So is there a point where you were doing the music and then something else not music related to pay the bills?
Yeah, I used to wait tables, honestly. It was my last tax-paying job, and then here and there I've done some just security work at venues, but that sucks a lot. And so it's all music. I would much rather play a show, even if the show is not something that I want to play. If it's like a 3-hour thing or something, I don't necessarily want to do that, but I would rather do that than have to haul people out of a bar because they can't drink properly or whatever.
So is there ever this subject fascinates me because everyone has some kind of artistic creative passion they want to do, and very few people actually make it into their work. Everyone generally works a day job, does what they do on their free time if they get that luxury. So was there some point where you were like, where there was a concern about how am I going to pay the bills, or I'm going to make that leap, I'm done with this and I'm just going for the music now?
Man, I honestly feel like, and this could be really naive, of me, but I feel like anybody that has a dream that's in any way something that can make money. Music is something that can make money. It doesn't for a lot of people. But anybody that has a dream like that, and it's not just a dream of selling cheese shaped like cartoon characters or something out there that people aren't going to buy. Anybody that has a dream, the only obstacle is self. You know, I really feel that way, that if you're gonna elbow grease the thing, it will make money. It might not make U2 money, it might not make Metallica money, but there is a lot of money to be made in music. And what it boils down to is we musicians, myself very much included, have a tendency to be pretty damn lazy. You know, that's been always my biggest hurdle is you know, talking myself out of doing something. So I don't know. I just at the time I was single. I didn't have any kids, and the time was then. I was mid-20s, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, man, a lot of ignorance and a little bit of hard-headedness or whatever.
Well, there is something to the ignorance thing too, because I think sometimes, you know, not knowing that you can't do something, you know, makes it that you can do it, essentially.
Yeah, well, when I look back at the steps that got us to where we are now, you know, seriously, from, like, for real, like, day one with Fifth on the Floor, the first gig, I thought we were gods. so, and and maybe some other guys in the band at the time agreed, and maybe not, but probably not anybody else did. But, you know, I just look back at these, like, really, even the band I was in high school, you know, I had these, like, seriously grandiose ideas that now would make me red-faced to even think that what presumptive gall, you know. So anyway, I think that's a big part of it, man. Yeah, you know, just you got to believe in it, but you got to work too. And you also, you know, the conscious decision I made was that I'm okay being really, 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 really poor.
Yeah.
And that was it. You know, it's like, okay, if I choose this, if I go do this, I'm not going to have a nice car.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat really nice meals, you know. So that's it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we eat nice meals. We just don't have to pay for them. If we had to pay for them, we wouldn't eat them.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, I do what I do here, and it was the same kind of thing. I was too dumb to know I was supposed to be doing it, and now I'm interviewing you. I've interviewed Roger Klein,
Yeah.
Cracker. You know, I go places, I get music, I get access to shows, and it's just because I started doing it. You know.
Right, man. Yeah. Just do it.
Yeah.
With the musical landscape being what it's been post, you know, Napster, there's the way I see it anyway, is that there's less and less people flying around on jets doing cocaine off strippers' backsides or whatever, and all that really dumb shit, but to make a honest working living, and if you think about what that means, I mean, what can you get by on? You can get by on, you know, working 40 hours a week and bringing home maybe like $40,000 or $50,000 a year or whatever. You know, that's the thing. You don't have to be rich. It's not GarageBand and Metallica. There's a lot of stuff between there. You don't have to be in Rolling Stone to make a lot of money. I mean, I think Roger's a great example of it. Roger's not necessarily on the radar of, you know, terrestrial FM radio, but Roger's doing great.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to be doing what Roger's doing, and by damn I will, you know. So I think that's what it boils down to is really knowing what the landscape is, and, you know, making that decision. I guess it's probably unrealistic to start a band and be like, okay, we're gonna be billionaires, but, you know, to start a band and be like, hey, I'm gonna have a house, you know, and I'm not gonna mow my own yard or whatever, you know. So I'm working on it.
I mean, I suppose it's like anything else, you know, if you want to buy a store or any kind of, you know, business, basically, you know, you set out and, you know, you have these goals and you have to do the work to make it happen. But yeah, you can make money eventually doing it.
Yeah, I've always heard that you start a business, it takes 5 years to be profitable if it's, you know, worth a damn. And, you know, the band's been a band for 8 years, but technically only a business for 2, so.
Yeah.
I probably got a few more years. It's getting there, though. It's definitely getting there. We've never worked harder, and we've never worked smarter, specifically, and as sober.
Well, now, speaking of the work and, the smart works in particular, do you guys have, is there a schedule? Like, all right, we've got to make some songs, we got to put out an album. How does that work? What's the structure, or is there a structure?
We wake up in the morning, all at a synchronized time, and we do jumping jacks for approximately 45 minutes. Man, honestly, the creative process is a lot looser than it should be, and then and we're definitely working on that. But we've had the goal of riding on this tour, and that's not really happened. But there's been a lot of fun and a lot of travel as well. So it wasn't maybe even a good idea to try it, but. The way I write it, and I think Parsons writes a little bit too, it's just kind of when it comes to you. Now, that said, I've really tried to start sitting down and taking songwriting a lot more seriously instead of just, maybe I kicked out 15 songs this year, maybe I only kicked out 5. Now it's like, no, I'm just going to write. And I do that, as much as possible. I went down to Florida and isolated myself at this house and wrote for like 2 weeks. I just got up and wrote all day and drank a lot of coffee and wrote. And I wrote a bunch of songs. I've never done that in my life. I've never come out of that short span with that many songs, and hopefully a bunch of them are on the record. They're good songs. They're different. The next record will be different.
So it's not a thing where you just wait for the muse to strike. Like, you actually took some time and set it aside.
Right.
Not
anymore. I don't wait on the muse. I've read enough things and am now seeing that in myself, that waiting on the muse and writer's block and things of that nature are in my opinion, totally false excuse for laziness and self-imposed obstacles. You don't. The problem that any, I think, artist runs into is they want everything they do to be the best thing they've ever done. So they want, if I've done 5 paintings, I want my 6th painting to be better than all 5, because that makes kind of some sense on paper that you're growing and you're getting better. But we create, man, out of thin air. So you can't pull gold out of the air all the time. And so what I'm getting at here is, like, I had to, as a writer, and I think probably all badass writers that I hope to one day be, get to a point where you're like, it's okay to write a shitty song. I don't have to go record it. If I start down a path and then I look at the whole and it's just a piece of shit, it's not like, oh my gosh, I suck, I'm terrible. I mean, that's the thing. We're so fragile. We're babies, and
oh yeah.
I don't know, but it's a process, and I'm trying to get better. I look at myself as a rookie athlete, and I hope to be a starter.
Well, I mean, you have, like, my philosophy. I write. I make movies, and my philosophy is, I get this corny saying, you got to dig through the dirt to get to the treasure.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
You're gonna have some shit. You're
Clock in. My old man and his old man before him and his old man before him, forever and ever, amen, work their ass off, and I literally play for a living. So, to sit around and just weep and moan about not coming up with good material, it's like, man, I know some of these writers that they clock in and they clock out. And I ain't talking about the Nashville stuff. I'm talking about writing for yourself, but setting aside hours, and every day I'm going to write. If you do that, you will come up with badass stuff, and you will become a great writer, and I'm still not doing that. I still don't have that discipline. But it's something I'm working on. My kids would let me.
Yeah, that's always the complication. I'm a big routine-based guy, and so, like, I do a writing session each morning before I get up. I've got a day job before I go to work, or whatever's going on that day. I get up 6 a.m., do the writing thing, and then get on with the rest of the day.
You get up at 6 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
That's 99% of the problem. I go down at 6 a.m.
Well, you got to adjust for your lifestyle. So,
oh, sure, man, yeah.
But I don't have any kids either, so I don't know. I can't even imagine how it's going to complicate things. We just got a dog, and that complicates the routine enough as it is.
Yeah.
So when kids come into the picture, I have no idea.
I get better sleep on tour, man. I get better sleep on tour. My kids are perfect angels, but they do not share my sleep habits.
How many do you have?
I got twin girls that are B2 at October 3rd.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'll leave behind. But
very nice.
I'll be seeing them in a week.
Excellent. So how's that? How does that work for you? You know, I mean, because your work takes you on the road, takes you away. How do you balance that family life and the touring life or in the career?
I've got an amazing wife, an unparalleled wife, and I mean, really, it's really that easy. I mean, she and all spouses of touring musicians or loved ones, you know, they're essentially single mothers when we leave. You know, I do the best I can. A lot of video chat and what have you, but. She's awesome. I just got a good team, you know. I got great parents and great in-laws, and that's how I do it. And if I didn't have that, you know, I would still do this. It would just be a lot harder, and I'd probably be a lot more of a damn drunk. I'd be Bad Blake and Crazy Heart, I'm sure, pissing in a jug.
It's a great movie.
It's a damn good movie.
All right, so you mentioned back a little bit about how, you know, the post-Napster era. So what's your view of the world now for a musician, especially as a crew musician with the internet and everything, social media, you know?
I think, well, it's kind of presumptuous of me to even answer that question, being still broke, but I think that we just have to be creative now. You know, basically there was a game and there were rules how to play that game, and then they shat on the game, so the game doesn't even exist in any recognizable form. And Lord knows the labels are slow to to keep up with what's going on with technology. I mean, shit, music in general is like that. The music laws still refer to phonograph records, man. You know, I mean, everything is behind technology and probably always will be. But, you know, I think that musicians now, rather than chasing that like silly label deal dream, need to take matters in their own hands. And I mean, you know, we've got a team, we've got a manager, we've got an agent, you know, we've got all these things that are awesome. But, you know, we've also been a band for a long time, and we self-booked many tours. We slept in the damn van. You know, we saved money and made merch, and you just got to do that. There's just this mentality that I don't know what it is. If you choose to do this, you don't generally do not have a boss. You don't have anybody to tell you, okay, you need to do this from 9 to 5. So you have to figure that out. And if you're not going to figure that out, you're not going to go anywhere. You know, it doesn't matter how good your damn band is. You got to figure out ways to get in front of people. That's what everybody that doesn't have stable income in this business is trying to do or should be trying to do. That's what we're trying to do.
So, I mean, so there was the period where you guys were sleeping in the van and you weren't making any money. You know, you just kept at it until you got to the point, and then did someone approach you for management, or were you
believed in it. Yeah, everything. I mean, I don't know. So you can look at it as, well, okay, so let me get my thoughts in order. Shooter Jennings kind of, for us anyway, fell out of the sky. Our manager kind of fell out of the sky, and then our manager went after our agency and made that happen. And really all good things have come from our manager, Randy Deese. We love you. Since then. But now that said, you know, Shooter started playing us on his radio show a couple years back, and really has been a personal friend, like amazing, and with the business side of things, kicked down doors that I don't know that we ever could have kicked down, but we got that. You know, he found us because we were getting ourselves out there. I think he found us on a Google search or something. You know, my point being that you can't just sit around in your house and run scales and write or whatever and expect somebody to just discover your shitty MySpace page or whatever. Like, you know, we were out there. we were out there touring long before we should have been doing it. We were out there playing in front of people long before we had any, bless those people's hearts for paying to come see us. Because we were, I know, a total shit show for a long time. And I'm sorry if we owe you a refund.
But I think that's probably an important part of the process there.
Work.
I mean, it's work, but then there's also, it's almost that same thing that, stand-up comedians have to do, where you got to go out there. You can't just work at home on your own, like you said. You got to get out there and do it in front of people, because you got to fail in front of people to understand what that failure is, what that failure feels like, so you can make those adjustments.
And not do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to get your arm broken to learn that you don't want that to happen ever again. It sucks.
Yes.
And we have played those shows, and it certainly are not too big for our britches that we may or may not play them again. I'm definitely taking preventative measures. But, if you've performed, you create art, the first person that even bats an eye at you and gives anything close to negative, it just shatters you. And,
Well, I think, as artists, we're all such fragile people anyway to begin with,
Yeah, because our job is to wear our hearts on our sleeves. Those of us that aren't Nashville copycat clone plastic bullshit sons of bitches. But any artist, good or bad, is bearing themselves. So you gotta get good at doing that and not caring if they hate you.
Yeah.
I guess, or just be fifth on the floor and be that good that they can't hate you.
Well, someone's always gonna hate you, right?
Oh yeah.
Well,
man.
and especially with
that kind of stuff is a joke to me. Like. Being the greatest band in the world. I say that jokingly, but I also feel like if you act like that, we're a gang, man. We're a gang. We're the front line. You're not going to get through us. You're not going to hurt us. We're going to crush you every night. And then we're going to laugh about even saying that in a podcast, that we were going to crush you. You know what I mean? Like, we take the music very, 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 very seriously, and everything else, man, is, come on, dude. We're not saving lives,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I drank a fair amount of coffee before this interview.
No, this is good. This is great. So, well, we're about, what are we at, 25 minutes here. I don't know, you want to wind it down here? You got more time?
If you've got any more questions, feel free to ask, man.
I'm just, like I said, the thing that fascinates me is how people get started into art and then bring it into the point where it is a career. Again, I work a day job. But I've got my routine. I'm putting my nose to it and making things happen. That is what fascinates me, because I talk to people at all levels, and some of them, they play shows on the weekends and they work 9 to 5 during the day, that kind of a thing. My goal is to show people that it can be done.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah. I mean, it can be. Just treat it like anything else. I mean, research. I have personally spent insane amount of hours reading dumb books, how to, all this. But even more specifically, I think with art, this is the way to do it. I look at the people who have things that I want, and I straight up copy what they did to get there. I don't mean necessarily copying a song, but I mean like, oh, okay, so if you go play in Smith's downtown in Mishawaka, and all of a sudden you're one of the biggest drawing bands in the area, well, by God, I'm right behind you, man. I'm playing that next night in that bar, So that's it. There's a way to make money. It's out there. It ain't gonna be the same for every band or artist or whatever, but work hard. Know that there's multiple income streams. Increase them, have many of them, and have all of the money.
Now, how is it that how do you guys, connect with, making your shows? I mean, obviously you've got a management team behind you, but I've spoken to bands, and some of the things they do is they contact other bands directly, and they're like, hey, come to our town, open for us, and then let us come to your town and open for you, and get in front of an audience.
That's what we did. We don't do it anymore. We've got just this agency is incredible, Monterey, and so they do all that now. But yeah, used to trading shows was it. I used to book for a little pub in Lexington, and bands that would submit stuff to me that I thought sounded cool. I would be like, hey, I'm not gonna not give you the show if you're not interested, but just in case you are, I'd love to come play in your town with you sometime or blah, blah, blah. And booked whole tours off the backs of favors of bands, you know, seriously. And that's how everybody does it. We're loading in. It looks like I need to cut. See, we're not to the point where other people are loading our shit.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's my goal.
Doing the work, you know.
I ain't loading nothing else. The minute we get, I ain't changing no more strings.
When I got here, who are the guys that were here before, the other band?
Nashville Pussy.
Those were okay.
That's who we're supporting on this tour.
Okay, so they got here. When I pulled in, they were trying to get loaded up, and they're like, "Man, there's no elevator, no nothing." And I'm like, "Well, I'm waiting for Justin. You guys want a hand?" So I was helping them haul stuff up the. Yeah, because that's
You're a good man.
That's a rough move there. So
it is. Smith's downtown.
Yep. Well, hey man, I really appreciate
Justin,
it.
It's good to meet you, man.
It's a blast. Good to meet you too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I'm gonna stick around for the show. And
please do.
Yeah, man. Good luck with everything.
You're gonna dig it, man. And next record coming out sometime early next year. And
awesome.
If you give two shits about Fifth on the Floor, it's gonna blow your mind. You're gonna love it.
Awesome. I love it, man.
Yeah,
love
man.
It.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. You've been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops from Red Chuck Productions. Keep up on new episodes of this show, our live events and various creations and other happenings over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us on social media at Red Chuck Productions. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out over at herojuniormusic.com. That is Hero, Hero, Junior, JR, music.com. A big shout out to Paul Clemson and Theory One Productions for handling sound duties and so much more. Check out their magic over at theory1productions.com. And a big thank you to Earthworks Audio for outfitting the Red Chuck Studio. See their microphones and their other products over at earthworksaudio.com. Be sure to support all of our guests by visiting their websites, social media, clicking that subscribe button, seeing them live, and checking out their merch stores. Give musicians and artists your money. We'll be back with the next episode. Until then, thank you for your time. Here's to life.